we're in shock right now. No one here should be allowed to vote. We shouldn't be allowed to drive. we should all be forced to settle in. Don't make any rash decisions. Like right now, we're dealing with this is a crazy time. We just got done watching. It might not be the biggest upset in combat sports history. I know I said it after the fight. I think Buster Douglas might have been a bigger upset because Buster Douglas was kind of a fuck up. He was kind of a guy who didn't really train hard, didn't take care of himself, and he was a 42-1 underdog when he knocked out Mike Tyson. Holly Holm was only a 12-1 underdog when she knocked out Ronda, and Holly was, very respected in the combat sports world, multiple-time boxing and world kickboxing champion. But still, on Twitter, when I was hyping this fight up and I was telling people about this fight, so many people were saying, you're trying to sell us bullshit. Holly doesn't have a chance. Freddie Roach said Ronda Rousey's going to destroy her. And it was all these articles were saying you're just going to... So it was an upset. But it wasn't just that it was an upset, it was the way she did it. Yep. The way she did it, though, she fought the perfect fight. And when she head kicked Ronda, just the icing, the cherry on the cake, good night, everybody, and hammer fisted her when she was out. I mean, we're all shocked. I'm in shock.
The whole place was shocked. I mean, there's a reason right now why literally my phone at 4 o'clock in the morning was going crazy. Every media outlet on earth, I mean, you name it. My Dave Schaller, our PR guy, said, pick an outlet, say it, just say something, pull a name out. They called and they want either Holly or Ronda. They want to talk to him. And I was saying earlier to you guys, it's like Patriots are looking good this season. They just went 9-0. They could win another Super Bowl. The world will not go fucking crazy the way the world went when two badass human beings square off in a combat fight. The world goes fucking crazy, man.
We're not used to women doing that. And if we are used to, like, there was like a brief moment in the past where Christy Martin got big. Remember the coal miner's daughter, and she used to box on TV, and she would have these kind of fights. But one of the things about watching women fight was they didn't really knock each other out. They'd sort of beat each other, and they would punch each other. But when Holly head kicked Ronda last night, it was like, it wasn't just that she beat her. It was just that Ronda was such a superstar. When such a superstar gets beaten like that, the whole world has to go, what? It's like when Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson. It wasn't that a guy got knocked out. Everybody knows guys can knock guys out. We've seen Mike Tyson knock out 100 guys. It's not that. It was that Mike Tyson got knocked out. What? Like, it didn't fit in our paradigm of how the world works. Right. The world works. Ronda Rousey runs out, grabs girls, throws them on their head, arm bars them, or she knees them in the stomach, punches them in the face, takes them out. To see that happen the way it happened, to see Holly Holm fight the perfect fight and be so classy, all through the media, everything she did, cool as a cucumber. During the weigh-ins, Ronda screaming at her in her face and everything. Holly was stone-faced, never changed her expression. I mean, the whole thing was just...
It's almost the same feeling, not the same feeling, but almost the same feeling that I got on 9/11, watching those giant trade centers come down. No, I'm serious. When the trade centers got hit by planes, we were like, holy fuck. But when you watched them actually come down, you're like, there's no way something that solid and that stabilized and strong and powerful is coming down right now. And that's how I felt when the leg kick happened. Like, I felt like there was a delayed reaction from everybody. Like, people are like, oh yeah, she just got head kicked and she went down, but it's not over. It's not really over. And until her Dean waved that hand, I still think it took 10, 20, 30 seconds before people really realized what was happening there.
I was outlining it before the fight, and what was funny was all these people on Twitter were like, you're trying to sell us this bullshit. We're already watching. Stop trying to sell us bullshit. Ronda's going to kill her. But as I'm outlining it, I'm outlining kicks. I'm talking about oblique kicks. I'm talking about movement and distance and Holly Holm's striking credentials. And I'm like, this is this is a complicated fight for Ronda.
Yep.
And it really sunk in with me when I saw her at the weigh-ins. You could tell that she realized, like, this, even though Holly wasn't doing anything disrespectful, she wanted to get this emotional. She wanted to turn this into something, like, very, very personal.
Yeah, and she, I don't know what was going on, but Ronda was, when you do that at the day of the weigh-ins, you're trying to get in her head, you're trying to rattle her, shake her up, and Holly was not rattled or shaken one bit
At all.
that whole exchange.
Was the other thing that we were talking about during the broadcast? We were saying, like, this is a girl she's faced intense pressure before, world championship pressure in boxing and kickboxing. She's been there, man.
People were shitting all over this fight. I did a radio tour the week we left for Australia. I said, this girl's had 45 fights and had multiple world titles. There's a sense of experience and this just calm feeling, even though she's going in against Ronda Rousey, and Ronda is, I guess now you could say she was really the female Tyson for the sport because of the way everybody's reacting to her loss. But this girl has a lot of experience, man. It's a big deal, and she has the distance, the range. She has great head kicks, and good hands. This was a great fight. This was the fight to make.
Yeah. Well, you know what it was is that she didn't come into her own in the UFC until this fight. Like, even though she looked great in other organizations and she knocked people out, when she fought in the UFC, the few fights she had in the UFC, she was still trying to find her footing. Like in the Raquel Pennington fight, she looked good, but she didn't look like a world beater. It's like we talk about this all the time, but being in the UFC is such an overwhelming experience for fighters that it takes them several fights. Like Kyle Noak. Like Kyle Noak has had 10 fights in the UFC? I don't even know how many fights he's had in the UFC. But last night came into his own. Last night when Kyle Noak fought Sabata, he came into his own. He landed that. He looked fantastic, landed that front kick to body, and said to himself, when I was interviewing him, he's finally believing in himself. It takes a while to get comfortable in there.
The other thing too, in this sport, it's so different.
Too cozy, yeah.
Too cozy. We're on a plane right now. What's your name, ma'am?
Giselle.
And Giselle is the flight attendant. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Is it time for food?
Would you two like to eat together?
Sure.
I won't judge you.
That would be awesome.
Yes?
Yeah, we'll pause this for a moment. We'll come back in a little bit. Yeah. Oh, you gonna set up the tray right now? Is that what you're doing?
I'll come back.
Okay. Thanks.
Can't do 3, sorry.
All right. Thank you, Giselle.
Well, the other thing is that in this sport, and we say this all the time, there's so many different ways to win and lose, and it's so hard to be perfect all the time in this sport. To go undefeated and go on these long runs for 10 years like Jose Aldo, or as long as Anderson Silva did, or as long as Ronda Rousey did. It is hard to be perfect every time you go in there. Because I don't care how good of an athlete you are, how long you've been competing, not everybody jumps out of bed every day and feels perfect and feels good. The timing is on, your body feels right. It's not possible for that to happen all the time. It's why when people go on these undefeated runs in this sport, they are fucking great. They are truly great. And then you take all the things about physically not being perfect, then add the pressure and the workload that gets put on you when you become a UFC champion. Ronda Rousey did it better than anybody's ever done it. The amount of work and the time she put in, how hard she trained, the things that she would do. She didn't become a huge superstar the way that she did for no reason. She worked at it. And you see Conor work at it. And these guys that can go on these long runs are very unique individuals.
And the pressure that she's under, and the pressure and the distractions.
Yep.
When you see her in all those media events, I mean, we've all seen her on all these different talk shows and all these magazine articles. Is that your music?
Oh my God, it is. I'm sorry.
Like, listen to this song. He's got his Beats headphones blaring. But when you see all these things, I tune into them and I see them, but I don't think of how many she's doing that I'm aware of them. If someone's aware of, if you're aware of someone on the Tonight Show, if you're aware of someone in a Rolling Stone article, think about how many things they're doing that you're not aware. Think of how much shit Ronda is doing all day long, constantly her phone's blowing up, media requests, constantly people asking her to do things.
And as well, most people don't realize, they look at somebody and go, oh, big deal, you got to do interviews, you got to do this. It sucks a lot of energy out of you, man. Doing that stuff is very time consuming. You always have to be on. There's tons of preparation that goes into it. The travel that's needed to do it. It's a heavy workload when you become the champion.
Well, it's a heavy workload for a guy like you who doesn't have to fight. It's a heavy workload, constantly doing interviews. But someone who has to fight, and you have preparation, you have to train, you have to eat right, you have to sleep right, you have to make sure that you get all of your physical preparation in. I mean, it's a massive distraction.
Carla Esparza. When Carla Esparza, won tough, she was the champion. We started putting her out. She had to do media. Then we needed her to defend her title, and she started to freak out early. Like this is too much. I'm breaking out. I just got off The Ultimate Fighter. I trained for this fight. I won the show, and now I got to defend the title. And I got to go back. It's just people start. Ronda said this quote this last week. She said, these people who think they want to be the world champion have no idea what it really takes to be the world champion. And it's so true.
I remember when BJ Penn beat Matt Hughes, and I was interviewing Matt in the Octagon, and Matt was very candid and very honest, and I really admire the way he approached it, because I never interviewed anybody before and they talked about it like that. He said, honestly, losing is a relief. He said it was just a tremendous amount of pressure being the champ and having all these people coming after me. And honestly, it was a relief. I'm like, wow, what a ballsy guy he is to admit that like that. What an honest guy.
It's so true. The amount of pressure that these guys are under and the workload. And then you take Ronda and you add movies on top of it. She's doing movies on top of it, and books, and going on book tours, and all this stuff. It's a lot of work for anybody. And but like I said, she did it better than anybody's ever done it. She really did.
Now, when you look at the fight stylistically, that's one of the crazy things about fights. You can get a guy like Floyd Mayweather that figures out how to box people and get to a 49-0 record, but to figure out how to beat every different style of martial artist, when you're talking about takedowns, leg kicks, all these different things, we had talked about the one thing that we hadn't seen Ronda deal with was someone who knows how to kick. And we really had. Kat Zingano was the only possibility, and Kat just made a crazy mistake and rushed Ronda, got caught in a scramble, and got armbarred. But what Holly Holm was able to do, it was the first time we ever saw anybody who knows how to kick. Keep her on the outside, a lot of movement, a lot of kicking, and that's kind of missing in Ronda's game. The kicking aspect, I don't recall ever seeing her throw a kick. I mean, if she has, maybe one or two ever. I mean, do you remember seeing her kick?
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is that Ronda was a fucking tornado and ripping through everybody like in seconds.
Yeah.
So you probably don't get to see her full game or what she's got. And last night was just craziness. So it's tough to sit back and look at game plan, because the other thing is, what are you going to do with Holly? Now you can look back and say, well, she probably should have tried to grapple with her. She should maybe try to double leg her, get in the clinch, take her down, do this, that, and everything else. But that's not Ronda. Ronda is, I'm going to go out and I'm going to fucking bang with you. I'm going to try to throw you. If I get the opportunity to throw you, I'll throw you. She never got any opportunities. She got into a couple exchanges. She rocked Holly a couple times, but she never really...
You think she rocked her?
Yeah, I think she did.
Really?
From what I remember seeing the fight, I remembered seeing Holly look like she got hurt a couple times in the fight by Ronda.
I didn't see that. I remember seeing her charging after Holly and maybe connecting a couple times with punches, but Holly was always moving back. And like when someone's moving away and you hit them, it doesn't have nearly as much impact.
No doubt. She was on the outside and she was picking her apart and hitting her with big shots.
And planting.
Yep.
Planting and then throwing that straight left. Moving, planting.
Hit her with a big elbow
left.
one time. Mm-hmm. Hitting her with hooks.
She hit her with a couple of those oblique kicks to the legs too, which jar your knees. It
reminded me of watching an actual bullfight, of when the bull charges and the matador hits that sword a couple times. Like, that's what it reminded me of.
Well, that's what you were saying about the time when Ronda missed?
Yeah, oh my God, when Ronda missed that one time and she turns around and looks, it looked like a scene from a movie.
When she missed, she stumbled.
Yeah.
She
fell down.
and Holly just ducked under and was out of the way.
And she turned around and she had a look on her face like, who am I going against right now? It's exactly what her face said, and she was wearing it, and I think that was a huge turning point. I also think I went crazy when Holly Holm took her down, because they were clinched up and it looked like Ronda was trying to get that toss in, and all of a sudden Holly lifted and sort of just did like a standing double leg sort of and got her down. It was, I think, psychologically a huge turning point. They
got into a clinch there at one point, and they ended up going down on the ground, and Ronda was trying to get an armbar on her, and then Holly pulled out of it. Yeah, I got to see the fight again. It was so fast and crazy.
We replayed the entire second round, but the second round, she was already beaten up. We had time, and I said to Bruce in the truck, I was like, let's do the whole fight again. Let's do the whole fight and comment on it, and with the knowledge of what had happened, and because we're only dealing with 7 minutes. Let's do this whole thing again. But we wound up playing the second round again, and Ronda came out for that second round already flustered. Already, she was so tired going back to that first round. Like, her legs were wobbly. She was breathing heavy, and I like Edmund. I talk to Edmund all the time. I enjoy talking to him. I always hug that guy when I see him. I do not like what he did in the corner. He wasn't honest with her. He told her she did great. He was like, great round, champ. Everything's great. I mean, maybe he was trying to psychologically pump her up, but that's not what you need. I mean, she needed technical advice. She needed someone to tell her what she's doing wrong and how to correct it. And I think, he's more of like a boxing coach than he is an overall MMA coach.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is that you if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Right. That's a very good point.
The thing is now is what do they do? Listen, at the end of the day, Edmund's a guy who really cares about Ronda and her career, and all of that stuff. So I think as a team, they'll sit down and try to figure out what went wrong and what needs to be fixed.
Yeah. And Tony, you had a great point. We were at breakfast today. You were like, all these people on Twitter, like, they knew what was going to happen. Oh, you knew. You go, oh, well, I assume you bet everything you had then, right?
Right, yeah. Everybody wants to say that they knew what happened. Well, then, where's your betting slip?
Well, you want to know something? Vegas went down last night. A lot of people did bet on Holly Holm last night, and apparently there were some big college football games last night with huge spreads, and they parlayed Holly Holm and the college game. And this is what I heard. I don't know if this is fact, but this is what I heard today here in Australia, is that the Bellagio had to shut down for over an hour because they didn't have enough money in the cage to pay everybody from the Holly Holm bets.
Oh my God.
How about that?
Well,
and there's some guy, his name's Vegas Dan or something like that. He bet $25,000 on her.
20. He bet 20, won 240.
Yeah.
The Bellagio.
12-1.
The Bellagio is going to have to shut off their fountain, save that water bill for a little bit, huh?
The other big bet that everybody was taking was the over. The over was a round and a half.
Yeah. It's an interesting situation because I love Ronda as a person. I consider her a good friend. I really like her, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
And as a person, I'm sad for her loss that this happened to her. But Holly Holm is a great person too.
Yeah.
And they're two great competitors. And I think ultimately what happened last night, is great for martial arts, and it's great for MMA, because even though it was terrible for Ronda, and I feel terrible for her, I feel great for Holly Holm. It's very very conflicted.
Right. It's
like
crazy.
I'm trying to figure out when I'm interviewing Holly inside the octagon. I'm going in there as a person who cares about Ronda. It's tricky, because this is the biggest moment of Holly Holm's life, and I want to honor that.
Right.
And I want to go in there, and I am genuinely happy for her, while at the same time genuinely sad for Ronda.
Right.
But I can't acknowledge that. I have to be happy for Holly. And not only do I have to, I want to, when I'm interviewing someone inside the octagon, I am trying my best to get them to express themselves. I want Holly to say, this is the new bantamweight champion of the world, Holly Holm. And she's got tears in her eyes, and her dad's there, and her husband's there, and Winklejohn's there, and everybody's there, and it's this intense moment, and I want to get that out of her. And while that was all happening, I was thinking to myself, what a good person she is.
Yeah.
Like, even though, I love Ronda and I care about Ronda, like, what a good person Holly Holm is.
Yeah.
She's just, like, you can't help feel happy for her.
It's true. It's the crazy thing about this business that we're in. It's not just Holly and Ronda. It's every person that goes in there and competes in the octagon. Both have these fucking dreams of winning and glory and world titles and money and all the things that go along with it. And then every fucking weekend when we do a show, one guy or girl moves forward and one guy or girl moves backward. It's a crazy thing. And Holly Holm and her father, her husband, and all the crew that was around her could not have been better people, could not have handled the whole situation. I couldn't agree with you more. Such very, very good people. I went to the hospital last night, and I had Joanna Jędrzejczyk there, I had Valerie Letourneau there, and I had Ronda Rousey there. And I'm walking from room to room going, Jesus Christ, this is a crazy business we're in, man. It's just so crazy. These girls, even Joanna, as dominant as she was last night, she was hurt. She broke her hand, She broke her hand. Valerie Letourneau was, oh my God. Her eye was massive. I'm serious. It was the craziest thing that I've ever seen, her eye last night. And
it was so swollen by the end of the fight. I can only imagine what it looked like in the hospital.
Joe, it was so bad. So then I'm like, how's your leg? She looks at me and she pulls the covers over and shows me her leg. I've never seen anything like that. I'm telling you, that poor little girl is banged up right now.
She took some hard shots in her leg and really kept kicking with it, kept coming forward. She is so fucking tough.
So tough.
So tough.
The women are tougher than the men, man. Women have fucking babies, for Christ's sakes. They're way tougher than us. Way tougher than the men.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm so impressed, first of all, with Letourneau's ability to rise to the occasion, too, because that was the best fight she ever fought in her life, or at least is what I've seen in the octagon, and against Joanna, who's a fucking killer. She's so good.
At the UFC, we always believed in Valerie. We thought Valerie was good. Big, strong, 115-pounder for that division. Now she's at least going to sit in the rankings where she belongs. You know what I mean? Yeah. She wasn't ranked number 8. She's better than that, and she proved it last night. Yeah. Joanna's just a fucking monster.